If you've ever done any development on previous versions of the Windows Phone platform, say maybe version 7 or 8.0, then you're no doubt familiar with the concepts of launchers and choosers. Now, if you're not, launchers are really just a way to, like the name implies, launch some sort of other system application that's going to allow you to interact with other functionality of the phone. So let's say you wanted to compose a chat message or maybe make a phone call or look at the contacts list or something along those lines, then you would definitely use a launcher. Now, if you were interested in maybe going into the user's media or images or picking some sort of file or something along those lines, then you're probably going to be using a chooser. So like I said, those concepts are very familiar to Windows Phone 7 and 8.0, but I have to tell you with some bad news that in Windows Phone 8.1, those concepts are now gone. And the reason for that is because Microsoft is continuing to move closer and closer to the idea that we're going to be running a very similar operating system with similar functionality on both Windows Phone as well as on Windows, and that has to do with this whole concept of Windows RT. So what you can do though is still do very similar operations, whether it be creating a chat or making a phone call or maybe picking some sort of resource that's on the system like an image. You can definitely still do those. It's just using a slightly different model. It's not a very complicated model. It's actually quite simple, and I think you'll be able to pick it up very quickly as the concepts continue to stay the same, almost regardless of whatever it is you're trying to do. So let's go ahead and take a look at a very quick example. As you can see, I have a very simple UI here. I have 3 buttons. I have chat, call, and images. So what I'd like to do is be able to handle the click events on all of these buttons, and I would like to, obviously, when I click chat, I want to create a new SMS message. When I click call, I want to be able to bring up the interface to make a new phone call. And then when I select images, I want to be able to see the images that are stored on the system locally. So let's go ahead and take a look at implementing those. So I'm going to go to my code behind file, and I have my event handlers here. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to create a chat message. So I want to be able to send an SMS to somebody else that I would like to send to based on maybe a phone number. So the first thing we'll do is we'll create a new chat message, and we'll set that equal to a new instance of the chat message class. And then I can set a few properties on chat, one of them being body. So I'll set this to hello there, maybe is the text I would like to send to someone. And then I would also like to set the recipients or add to the recipients. So we'll just type in an arbitrary number here. And then we'll be able to actually have a completed chat message, and now I want to send that to someone. And the way that I do that is via the chat message manager, and then I can show the SMS message async, and I'm going to pass in my chat message. And as you can see here, this is an asynchronous method like a lot of things in Windows these days. So we're actually going to have to use the await keyword here, and if we're going to use await, then we obviously have to put in async just like that. So now we can go ahead and hit F5 to take a look and see what this actually looks like. So here in my application, I can click chat, and it's going to open up my SMS screen here. And you can see I'm setting it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now I can add more to that if I want, because recipients is a collection. And then I can set the default text in the body here to hello there, just like I did here. So I can mess around with that as much as I would like. So next, I want to be able to make a simple phone call, or at least set up the basics of being able to send a very simple phone call. So the way that we do that is very similar to how we did the chat example, is that we are going to use a piece of functionality called, I have to stop debugging here, using the phone call manager this time, and I want to show the phone call UI, and I need to pass in a phone number and a display name. So in this case, we'll do the same thing. We'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we'll set as the display name Derek, just like that. So this is a very simple example, and as this just takes in a couple of very basic pieces of information, now I can come in and click my call button, and you'll see that I bring up my phone application, and do I want to dial Derek at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I can obviously hit call to actually initiate that call or hit cancel. So that's kind of nice as well. So those are kind of examples of maybe launchers that you might remember in a previous life doing Windows Phone 7 and Windows Phone 8.0 development. And then finally would be the concept of a chooser, where I want to go and select some resource or select something that sits on the system on behalf of the user. So the way that we do that is very similar whether or not you're actually wanting to select images or maybe media files or anything like that. We're not going to use a specific class like these to be able to handle that per each type of resource. It's done in a very generic way. So we're going to use something called the file open picker. So we're going to create a new instance of that. We'll say file open picker. And the way that we're going to specify what it is we're looking for is through a series of properties. So we're going to say here for this instance that I want to set the view mode on this, which is going to allow me to say what these are going to look like. So I can show a list, I can show thumbnails. I like to look at the thumbnail view. Then we are going to specify a suggested start location. So you can obviously look just about anywhere on the system or on the platform, but it oftentimes helps to specify maybe an initial location. So an obvious place, as you can see here, there's plenty of them. There's desktop, documents, downloads. Here's music if you're looking for those, videos, or pictures. So in our case, we want to see if there's any pictures here. And then you can specify some filters here, so you can say what type of files that you're actually looking for. So I'm going to set my file type filter, and I can add a couple here. I can say I'm looking for anything that ends in JPG maybe, and then I can duplicate this line a couple times and maybe look for JPEG, or maybe I could look for PNG, and I could put all sorts of different filters in here just to say what it is I would like to look for. And finally, once I've done all of those things, I'm just going to then use my picker and actually specify what I want to allow the user to do and actually show the UI here. So I have a few options. I have the ability to pick multiple files and continue, pick multiple files, pick a single file. And in this case, maybe we'll just pick a single file and continue. And in this case, that should be good enough. So we'll go ahead and hit F5 to start up our application. And once again, I can start a chat, I can start a call, and I can select images here. And as you can see here, this is going to bring up the choose a file with filters set to images. Now in this case, this is just my emulator, so I don't have any images, but I can go through all these different locations within here. I could even take a picture if I wanted to, and I have the normal options in here where I would normally get on the phone. I could choose a different location maybe. In this case, all I have is my phone. And I can start to look at all of these different options of the things that I would like to look for. So there you have it. That's the basic way to get access to what used to be the concepts of launchers and choosers in previous versions of the Windows Phone platform, to actually be able to do very similar operations that you might have been used to back then, but at least now you're able to get at those on Windows Phone 8.1.